If you're using Squarespace courses, there are lots of options right in the tool to customize your colors and your layouts, but I like to use a little bit of custom CSS to make it easier to navigate the course. I also like to use icons as my lesson thumbnails, and they look horrible in the side navigation without a little CSS. So in this video, I'm going to show you my favorite CSS tweaks for Squarespace courses, and I'll show you what they look like in the platform. And all the code that I'm using, you can find on my blog, and there'll be a link in the video description to that blog post. If you're new here, my name is Shannah, and I am a Squarespace web designer in New York City. On my channel, I share tips for Squarespace and other online business tools. So if that's your thing, subscribe below. Now let's dive in. So I'm here on a demo website with a demo course. And if I scroll down here, you'll see this is the main course page with the list of lessons. And the first thing I want to point out is that when you are in a Squarespace course, by default, your website navigation displays at the top of the course. And I find this kind of distracting because if someone is taking my course, they're not interested in navigating around my website. And especially if you go into a lesson, this gets a little bit busy because I've got the course name here, I've got the complete and continue button, and then I have this whole website navigation. So what I like to do is use CSS to hide the website navigation, the shopping cart, and this CTA button. I like to keep the login link, and when someone is logged in, this flips over to account, because if students come to this page directly using the course link, they can use this to log in, and once they are logged in, they might want to get into their account. So I leave this one here, but I use CSS to hide the rest. And this requires 3 CSS snippets. I'm going to navigate over to my CSS panel, and I am going to paste in this code. And you'll see immediately that the header navigation and the header button and the shopping cart disappear. I'm going to save and refresh. And then I'll navigate back to my main course. And again, the header navigation is missing. And so I'll open this in a new window. There are 3 CSS snippets here. One that hides the website navigation links, one that hides the CTA button, and one that hides the shopping cart. And again, these snippets will all be in the blog post linked underneath this video. The next thing we're going to look at is the course title that displays on your course lesson pages. So the name of your course is going to display right here. And if people click on this, they are returned to the main course page. But it's not particularly intuitive that that's where you will go. So what I like to do is add an underline here and then also a back arrow so people know they're going to go back to the course main page if they click here. So if I open up my CSS window, I'm going to paste in 2 snippets. The first one adds that return back arrow, and the second one adds an underline underneath the course title. And you can adjust the thickness of the underline and the offset of the underline and the weight of the underline here in this CSS. So if I close this window and click save and refresh, here you can see what that looks like with the underline and the back arrow. So now it's just a little bit clearer that when I click here, I return to my main course page. Now next, we are going to add icons as our lesson thumbnails. And as I mentioned, this doesn't look very good without a little custom CSS. So let me show you what I mean. Currently, if I go into a lesson, and I open up this side navigation here, you can see the thumbnails that are assigned to my lessons, and they're currently images, and there's this little video play button here. So let's go back and go into the course, and I'm going to go into my content, and I'm going to change these first 2 lesson thumbnails to use icons. So I click here on my 3 dots, I go to lesson settings, I'm going to change this thumbnail, replace it. I have some examples in my library here. I'll use this icon for the first one. Now note that your icons need to be saved as transparent PNGs. Make sure you do that. Then I'm going to click save. And now we've got an icon. It looks great here. Let's just do one more so we have a couple of examples. I'll pick the compass this time. Click save. And now I have my lessons with icon thumbnails. Now, if I go back to the main course screen, you will see that these thumbnails look fine here. They look great. But if I go into a lesson and open up the navigation, here they are not transparent. There's always a background behind them. So when I highlight them, they have this square around them, and they still have this video play button. And this video play button is going to be here whether or not you even have a video in your lesson. So that's where you have to use custom CSS. I'm going to navigate back to my CSS panel. And I'm going to paste in 2 code snippets. The first one removes that video play button, and the second one makes my thumbnails transparent. Even though the image is transparent, we need this extra code to make it show up as transparent in the sidebar navigation. So let's save and refresh. Now let's hop into a lesson and open the sidebar navigation, and we can see that the icons look great. The video play button is disappeared from all of the lessons, and now they are transparent PNGs. Now, one thing you might want to think about this particular color scheme, when I highlight my lessons, I can't see my icons, even these images here. So I might want to adjust this color. And let me show you how to do that. That is not CSS. But if I go into my color themes, I can see that this navigation is part of the Light 1 color theme. So I want to edit this color theme and scroll almost all the way down to the bottom. That's where you find your course color adjustments. And we want to go to the course lesson. And here we have the side nav active lesson background color. And I am just going to make that a little bit more transparent. And so now when I move over a lesson, I can still see my icons on the left, and I have a little more visibility to those images if I'm using images. So I'd also recommend not making that so dark, and that is how you would change that. Now, the next thing I like to do is change the color of this toggle, because it can disappear into the rest of the lesson. So if I scroll down here, if I have a white background, I can barely see it. So I like to change this color. So I've copied my CSS. I'm going to open the CSS window, go down here to the bottom and paste it in. And this one snippet is just changing the background color of this toggle. And you'll see here it's changed to a darker gray. I picked the color from my color palette and used this hex code here. You can just pop in any hex code you like. And if I save and refresh, now when I scroll down to my lesson, I can see this toggle more clearly. And I just prefer to change that so it's easier to see. And the one last thing that I like to do is add a border to the side of the sidebar navigation. Also, so it's just a little easier to see depending where you are on the page, because it might just kind of blend into the page. And I add a border that is exactly the same color as these lines here that are separating our chapters in the navigation panel. So if I open the window and go all the way down to the bottom and paste in my code snippet, what I'm doing is adding a border on the left-hand side. So this is assuming that my navigation is on the right. I'm adding a border on the left, that's 1px, and I'm using the color that is the same color as the item nav border color. So it'll automatically be the same color as this. This is a color variable. I recommend just using this. This should work well. And then if I click save and refresh, if I scroll down a little bit, now I can see clearly there's a border on the side of my side navigation. Now, if you have your side navigation on the left, let me show you what that looks like. If I click edit and edit layout, down here, I can switch my navigation to the left. If I have it on the left, you would have to change that CSS to put your border on the right. So let's go here. Open that window. You would just change this word here from left to right. Click save and refresh. Let me scroll down a little bit so you can see it. And there we go. Now I have my border on the right for a left-hand navigation. So that's it. Those are all the little CSS tweaks that I like to add to my Squarespace courses. You can find the links to all the code that I use in the blog post linked below this video. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If so, please feel free to like and subscribe below, and lots of luck with your Squarespace website.